Hey, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Creatures of the Edge. I've got the final update here for you on the song Light and Variable. I expect it to be done within the next couple days, if not this afternoon. So I wanted to show you where we're at. I've been on the struggle bus a little bit with it, just trying to get the mix balanced. It's a very complex song. There's a lot going on. There was also a few things that I tried to add more of, which made mixing more complicated. So I've backtracked a little, back to what worked on other songs. Apply it here as best I can. Nothing is seamless in terms of just dropping a saved channel strip in, but it can definitely help to see what worked previously. I definitely have felt my brain kind of drifting back into old patterns of thinking where I'm, more must be better. You're wasting the potential of all these songs by trying to master them yourself and not taking the time to send it out. And your mix probably just sucks and probably clipping like crazy and blah, blah, blah. So I got all anxious last night and woke up this morning, turned off the channel strip, and I wanted to show you this. First and foremost, if I hit play, we're going to be watching the channel strip down here in the corner. If we sit here for this whole song, I'm never going to clip. I'm sitting there going, okay, so it can't possibly be that bad of a mix. There's probably some things that could be improved with both a more experienced engineer and also even a less experienced engineer who has maybe better gear than I do. But the fact is that I understand gain structuring, and I feel like I've done a pretty decent job for this song, which has 61 tracks minus, you probably take away 20 that are effects and stuff. So 40 tracks going on of stuff. There's a lot happening here. And for me to have got it all in without clipping anywhere and also not spiking all over tells me that I'm at least close. So the reason that I started thinking that was because I was having trouble getting the volume up as loud as some of my reference mixes, which in this case for Light and Variable has been primarily influenced by Sub Focus, drum and bass artist. Had a blast watching Sub Focus since EDC Las Vegas. Can't believe that was months ago now already since I started this song and said I was going to blast it out by the end of June, and now we're already in the middle of August and I'm still tearing my hair out over it. But it's come a long way. It's a cooler track than when we started. It has the chance to be everyone's favorite so far because it's high energy. It comes in quick and it goes out quick. There's not a lot of dilly-dallying that might turn certain listeners off that are just looking for a banger or whatever. So anyways, I started thinking about my channel, my plugin chain here on the channel on the master bus and thinking, oh, you're doing too much limiting. And if you're having to do this much limiting, you're not doing something right. I'm past that already. I have a hard time believing that a mastering engineer is not doing some version of the same thing. They might be doing it with more skill and more precision than I'm doing, but at the end of the day, I don't know how you make anything louder without setting a threshold at the top and saying you can't get louder than this, but you need to crank it up into that. And that's a limiter. So what I've done is I have a series of limiters going on here, a series of compression and limiter, compression limiter going back and forth, until I get the right dynamics that I want and the right loudness for the track. And when you put it on, you'll see that I'm getting about 8 dB of gain reduction, but I'm not hearing the negative effect on the sound. And that's what drives my brain so crazy as an artist is I get, on the one side, one part of my brain is sticking to these rules that I know, and the other side is just my ears, is just making judgments based off what I'm hearing. I've listened to a hell of a lot of music in my life, and I've been doing this for a long time. Not professionally, as everyone here knows. I'm not a professional yet. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I homeschool my kids, and I come up here 1 to 2 days a week and maybe spend 10 hours at most in this room to crank out these songs. But I know when it sounds good and when it doesn't, and I release the other 3 songs because they sound good. They sound good enough to be listened to, and they sound as good, if not better, as some of dance music that I love to go out and listen to. There's times where I hear dance music and I'm like, it's no disrespect to anyone, and that's why I'm not going to name, there's no names. I just, every now and again you hear a song and you go, wow, this song is really popular. It's not that good. It's either not that interesting, or there's one annoying sound being played the whole time over some drums, but everyone loves it. And so that's why I'm doing this the way that I'm doing and just getting it out there, because number one, these 5 songs are not going to make or break me. It's the 5 songs after that, and then the 5 songs after that. I can start sending things off to a mastering engineer when I have a catalog of music that the world is digesting, and I don't feel so pressed for time to come in and release these songs for you. So that's my goal right now, is I'm doing it myself because I don't know how long it's going to take to send a track off to a mastering engineer, get it back, make the changes that I want, send it back to him. I don't have time for that. I want to get my music out in the world today, if possible, or maybe when I'm working on songs 6 through 10 or 11 through 15, I can start to say, okay, you know what? Now I have the leeway to go ahead and let this song take another month, because you all have 10, 15 songs to listen to, whatever. You have enough to drive your car 30 minutes to an hour and listen to Creatures of the Edge the whole way. So for now, I'm going to stick with what I've been doing, because it's been working, and I don't feel any better about myself when the negative self-talk starts to creep in, and it's not doing me any good. So let's have a listen to the first part. I'm not going to play the whole song for you because I want you to listen to it when it comes out very soon here. But I do want to show you where things are at, and I'll talk about some of the changes that I've made to try to get it all to fit in here, because there's a lot. Without further ado, thanks for listening to me ramble, and let's check this out. One of the things that I tried to do differently on this track was I thought, maybe I can make my kick and snare that much more dynamic by miking it twice. That made mixing a little more difficult. It didn't make it more dynamic, it just made it louder. Whatever I did, my limited microphone selection was not enough to provide 2 distinctly different kick drum sounds that sounded good blended together. It just made things muddier and more cluttered in the low end. I basically went back to the Rumination kick drum, because that one sounded great. Every time I hear it, I love it, and copied it in here. I've since made a couple changes. I think I added the sausage fattener from DadaLife, but the kick it's banging. Same thing with the snare. The room snare just wasn't adding enough to justify keeping it, and it was making getting these levels on the master bus or my drum bus that much harder. For my guitars, I have 3 Bullet. So the Bullet is my white Fender. I have that going into its own bus now. I have the SSL bus compressor on there. Same thing for the SG on this side. 3 SG tracks going into its own mono bus channel with the SSL compressor. Both of those are going into a central guitar bus that has the JST bus glue for guitars on it. That one is centered, but I have the binaural pan adding a bunch of width, and I actually want it more around 175 because I use binaural pan to spread out my reverb and stuff too. So I usually bust my reverbs out to 200% wide to make the track sound real. Something you might try. If you like the way my songs sound, you might try it for yours. I don't know that that's the right way to use it. It's just the way that I've found to use it. So, and that's the way I'm going with. Been trying to simplify the way that I'm thinking about managing these tracks. So you see a really basic setup here. I have a channel strip coming in for each guitar. Like a channel strip plugin from Renaissance, a little bit of compression, a little bit of expansion, and then some EQ. I run that signal into the Magma BB tubes to get a little saturation on the raw sound of the guitar, then into the guitar amp, and then just one more compressor after that. I used the equalizer here in Neural. Let me bring up BB Tubes up here too so you can see it went onto my other screen. So here's BB Tubes, here's our channel, and then Corey Wong, and then back into our compressor. I usually shoot for about 3 to 6 dB of compression every time I use a compressor. That seems to be the best workflow for me, is just light compression, but several instances of it. The mix that I got sounded a little over compressed last night, but it was the closest to being done that I've had. The low end was really good, but there was some funny things happening with the high end. And that was probably just a result of some sidechain compressors that need to be adjusted from all the volume changes and stuff. Similar setup for the SG, but it worked out where the SG sounds better with the Magma, the BB Tubes coming in first. So the SG goes straight into that to give it a little saturation, a little more oomph, then into the amp. For this one, I use the SSL console from Brainworks. I'm not married to these chains, and the next song I won't probably use these. I'll try another thing because I'm still in an experimental phase. I'm giving you some ideas right now because I do have music that I consider to be successful and polished enough to be out in the world. So I want to share these methods with you because that might be your first step too. If it's not your last step, awesome. It shouldn't be because I'm still learning. And we all are, so we should always be trying different things. But if it works as a first step for you to do something similar or to think in a similar manner, then that's why I wanted to share it with you. Another thing that I made a lot of changes on was the horns. So managing the horns parts is kind of funny because of the way the VST works. The functionality and the range of possible notes changes depending on when you use a single instrument or when you use a multi-instrument. So I like to work with individual instruments because I feel like I have a little bit more leeway into what I'm doing. The problem with that is that you run into an issue of managing MIDI tracks in multiple instances. And so when I make a change to the lead track, if I forget to copy that change and then move it an octave up or down for octave here, you end up with spots in your song where you forgot to go back and make things the final version that you wanted. And so basically what I do is I do all my main editing here on the lead track, which is just one instance of, lead trumpet from Straight Ahead Jazz Horns. Then I copy that one, the MIDI, onto another track. The octave track is a multi-track though, so you can actually see the keyboard looks different. My articulation key setup is different down here, and I can move some of the voicing presets around when it's in multi-mode like this. So basically you have a lead trumpet that's the loudest, followed by an octave multi-instrument that is giving you those higher notes or those lower notes when you feel that they're there, but it's not actually leading the charge in the song. And then finally a harmony one. And the reason I have this separate is so that I know when something has just been changed from an octave up or down to an actual different note because I'm looking for more of a chord effect or something. That just became a really good way to manage the actual MIDI data here on the track. And that works for me. So, and then in this instance, I have lead trumpet 1, but in the past I've done trumpet 2 just to change the samples up because each one of these instances of instrument has its own sample patches. And so I like to have as many dynamics and voices in there as possible. So that was my goal with the horns. The bus channel for the horns has gotten absurdly large, but they sound the way I want them to sound. They don't sound that much different from Mr. Perfect. And if anything, which was the first song that I did, if anything, they're actually a little bit less crazy because I don't have the OTT compressor on there anymore. And if you've ever used OTT, it is aggressive in how much it changes your sound. I really like it in some circumstances. I use it on my kick and snare. I use it sparingly. I bring the depth down and the time up a lot to get it to not feel so extreme because you can end up with some weird on the tail end of your waveform. you can get some weird upward expansion that completely changes the sound. So in those instances of OTT, I'm turning the time up and the depth down often. I bust all the instruments in this song. So the keys, the guitar bus, the horn bus, and the bass bus to instrument bus. That's where I have the sidechain compressor going. I have it pulling from the kick and the snare to bring those forward and not have to have them so loud, which was one of the things that I was fighting in the past 2 weeks. Was a really loud kick and snare that was hammering the limiters, where we're talking 8 to 9 dB of compression every time those hit, and you can tell. And it's fun. It was odd, it was odd that it's still that loud. And it's still spiking if I was to play the song and show you the limiter. Here's L2, and this is after 2 compressors and 2 limiters, and you can still see that my transients from my kick and snare are they're coming through so much, and I don't understand why, considering when you turn it off, you're not seeing those spikes. So I'm probably doing something wrong, something that needs to change. That being said, it goes back to what I previously stated. At the end of the day, I still feel like it's in my best interest to just use my ears. I'm not going to put out garbage, distorted music. I'm just not. I can hear it and I hate it. I hate overcompressed, but I'm also not willing to put out quiet music. I like dance music. I like metal. I like punk. I like loud music. I would say, the stuff like Corey Wong is some of the most soft and dynamic music that I listen to. And while I've taken huge amount of influence from Corey and Taylor Swift and all this stuff, I want loud music that hits hard and makes you want to get on your feet. And so if my Pro L2 needs to look where it's got 6 dB of gain reduction from my kick drum, which is not spiking beforehand, I don't know what to tell you. And I don't know what a mastering engineer is going to do different. I will learn in the future. But for now, I feel like it sounds like a pretty cool track. It's damn interesting for sure, and it's fun to listen to. And that's just going to have to be that. I mean, I'm an insecure person. I worry a lot about what people are going to think of me and something that I've put my heart and soul into. But I also know that there are so many instances where some of the earliest releases of a certain artist, I know a perfect example I can give is Circa Survive's first album. Everyone seems to love it. It's not their best songwriting. It's not the best mix, but it's fine and it's everyone else's favorite. I know there's some old songs of Bass Nectar that when I hear them, I'm like, this isn't that good, dude. And other people think it's the greatest bass song they've ever heard. It's possible that someone's going to feel that way about my music. I could be in a year or two from now, I could be doing something that kind of, is a pretty big departure from stylistically from where I'm at musically right now. And there could be some people that go, you know what, I like old Creatures of the Edge better. I liked it when it was raw and lo-fi and powerful and not too thought out and not trying to fit the mainstream and this and that. Yeah, so my biggest goal right now is to just make music. The song is nearly done. I can't make it sound any better. That last 5% is not going to make or break anyone's perception of the song. You're not going to love it or hate it because the guitar part for 30 seconds the tone is not exactly what I wanted. You're not even going to know. So these are some types of things. I like to share this sort of mental battle of it all because that's one of the different things that I can offer. You can find a channel from someone who's more advanced where someone could more confidently teach you what's right and wrong in music production. I don't think you're going to find a channel where someone is more honest about just how hard this all is, dude. It drives me mad when I think about the music that's out there, and some of it's being created by teenagers who have tens of thousands of followers. Why is this so easy for them and so hard for me? And I went to school for this. It's a difficult task. I need to stay stoked on the outcome because right now it's better than it's ever been. And I'm really psyched about already looking forward to working on the next song. I've got a whole song in my head that is just growing and growing and growing and waiting to be pulled out of the ethos and put into this computer and made into a track. So thanks for hanging out. And this is a bit of a longer episode. I've just been so distraught about the channel, and I forgot to even say I've been doing this a year already. I can't believe it. I'm going to stick to it because I have some good ideas, and I think that the future for me, once the catalog of music is established and I feel more confident about what I'm doing in the box here, that's where the future really begins for me, is once I can sit down and confidently say, check out this channel strip and try this on your end, and you'll get great results. Right now, I only can half-heartedly say that. It's working for me, but I'm still not sure that anyone else likes it. So if you do like it, make sure you like the channel, subscribe, follow me on Spotify, wherever you can. I'm on Instagram now. Join me on Instagram. I feel like I found a party that I didn't know was going on Instagram. I made an account, and then my wife kind of boosted me to all her friends and followers, and I went on there to this account that had nothing but like a goofy picture of my face and a couple song clips, and I had all these followers and stuff. So like and subscribe here on YouTube, and keep an eye out for Light and Variable coming at you real soon, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I look forward to starting the next song with you. Peace out till then.